Good morning, 8th class. Today I am going to start one new chapter with you, that is trade to territory. Yes, my dear friends, that at that time we have discussed in chapter 1 that how the Britishers they came here for the trading purpose. Now in this chapter we are going to discuss how they change their trading purpose to hold territories here. And they, as I have already discussed that they came here as a name of the East India Company. So how they started recovering the territories also. Now I'm going to discuss with you this chapter. So be ready. The very interesting one. But in this chapter you will be easy to know that how the Britishers they settled themselves here. So Aurangzeb was the last Mughal ruler. He established control over a large part of the territory that is known as India. And after his death, many Mughal governors and big zamindar they began asserting their authority and establish regional kingdom. So, as I've told you that Aurangzeb was the last Mughal emperor. But Betaji, at that time, the main reason why the Britishers they were able to control India that was the them Indians themselves, because they've always wanted to control the other part of the territory or the India. So always they keep on fighting with each other. So all the rulers they were not satisfied with their own rule. They just want to control the new rule, and the many of the ministers and the maybe the prominent rulers of that time they try to control the other territories. So the Britishers they have noticed all such kind of things. So they follow the motto that is divide and rule. So, due to these things, they were able to control the territories of India. So, by the second half of the 18th century, a new power was emerging in the political horizon, that is the British. The British originally came as a small trading company and very reluctant. They were not interested, you can say. They were not interested to acquire territories. Only they came here to for their trading purpose. But if they anybody thought of the territories, controlling of territories, so at that time such kind of things were not in their mind. So the British, how did they came to the masters of vast empire? This is the big question in this chapter. So let us see how this came about. So that is done for the East India Company. So, dear student, it comes from East. It acquired a charter from the ruler of the England, Queen Elizabeth, that grant him the Solomon right to trade. The Solomon right to trade means no other company from the England came here in India to just to do trade here. No other company. And due to this uh, due to this right, the company would venture across the oceans looking for new lands from which it could buy goods at a cheaper rate, goods at a cheap price, and carry them back to Europe to sell at a higher price. So they also wanted to purchase the things from here and go back to the England to sell the things on the higher prices. And due to the right, there were no competitor for them at that time. So it was very beneficial for them to control all the things better. So the company did not have to fear competition as they have the right from other English trading companies. Mercantile trading companies in those days made profit primarily by excluding competition. So, at that time, when they tried to control over the trading portion or the trading areas. So when no competition was there, so they decide themselves the prices of the things because no competitor was there. And the royal charter right could not prevent other European powers from entering the eastern markets. So many of the other companies they also came, not from the England. The by the time the first English ship sailed down in the west coast of Africa, and in the many other areas crossed the Indian Ocean, the Portuguese had already established their presence in the western coast and had their base in Goa. It was Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer, who had discovered the sea route in 1498. So, the Portuguese, the Dutch, they were the other companies, those who came here. The East India Company from east, the Portuguese, they were from west, and the Dutch, they also crossed the Indian Ocean. French also. So, French also arrived there. The problem was that all the companies were interested in buying the same things. That was the good quality of cotton and silk produced in Europe. And secondly, the other things, they were the, you can say, the pepper, cloves, cardamom, cinnamon too were in great demand. So competition among the European companies pushed up by the prices at which these goods could be purchased, and this reduced the profits of the other people. So the only way to reduce the profit, that to eliminate, just to vanish the other competitors. The urge to secure markets therefore led to the fierce battle between these trading companies. Though the 17th and the 18th century they regularly sank with their ships backward routes and prevented rival ships from moving with supplies of goods. So trade was carried out with arms and trading posts were protected through the fortification. Yes, my dear students, as they have the other companies become the competitor of the East India Company, so they also brought some of the weapons with them to protect themselves from the other trading companies. So there was a fierce battle between them also. So East India Company begins trade in Bengal. The first English factory was set up on the banks of river Hooghly in 1861. So dear students, the first English factory was set up on the banks of river Hooghly in 1961. Factory means the area where they store their goods, just like the godowns. So it was the base from which the company traders known as that time the factors operated. They had a warehouses where goods exported or imported were stored, and the officials of the companies they set up their offices. The main thing was that the company merchant they tried to settle near the factories, and the factories were settled near the coastal areas. So Bengal was a good coastal area at that time also. Now also it is a good coastal area. So they tried to settle their factories near the areas. So when the goods they come from that area, so in coastal areas they easily stored in that warehouses, so make their buildings there, and they also settled there. For 2 years it bribed Mughal officials into giving them the company's zamindari rights over 3 villages. Now from here they have started settling themselves. At that time they have given the bribe to company officials, so they give them the right to control the zamindari system. Yes, my dear students, here I want to tell you what was the zamindari system at that time. To collect the taxes, the rulers they appointed some of the officials to collect the taxes from the villagers or other people. So they collect the taxes and give it to the king, or they give the fixed amount to the king, and then they collect the taxes from they, for their own choice, they collect the money from the rest of the people. They have to give a fixed amount to the rulers. So the company tried continuously to press for more concessions and manipulate existing privileges. Aurangzeb Farman, for instance, had granted only the company the right to trade duty free. So, dear student, by the help of bribe or to convince the ministers of the ruler and to convince the ruler, they make their trade duty free. So here I am tell you what does duty free mean. Duty free mean that they have to give a tax when their goods entered in their uh, coastal area. So because of that duty, their uh, they uh, they have to pay more money to the company, to the ruler, and for this purpose their product having, you can say, uh, less profit. So when they got the duty free right, so they can earn more profit on their products. So officials of the company who were carrying on the private trade on the side were expected to pay duty. This they refused to pay, causing an enormous loss of revenue for Bengal. How could the Nawab of Bengal, Murshid Quli Khan, not protest? So here the question arises, why he didn't protest against all such kind of things? Still, he was convinced by the British people and he was given, or his officers may be given the bribe. So he didn't tell the truth to the Nawab. So this is all for this page. And now here I want to say Farman. That was a royal order given to the people from the side of ruler. So how trade led to battles? Yes, my dear students, in early 18th century, the conflict between the company and the Nawab of Bengal increased. After the death of Aurangzeb, the Bengal Nawab, they just show their power, and as their regional powers were doing at that time also. Murshid Quli Khan was followed by Alivardi Khan and then Shiraj-ud-Dowla as the Nawab of Bengal. They refused to grant the company's concession. At that time, they just wanted to control over the empire, so they take the help of the other ministers to get the more concessions. But later on, Shiraj-ud-Dowla and other people, they refused to give the company the revenue or the concession, because at that time, first of all, Shiraj-ud-Dowla was convinced for the purpose of the ruling empire at that time, but later on when he became the king, he refused to give all such kind of concessions to the company. So they also demanded large tributes for the company's right to trade. Large tributes mean they also demanded big money from the side of the company. So they claimed that the company was depriving the Bengal government of huge amounts of revenue and undermining the authority of the Nawab. It was refusing to pay taxes, writing disrespectful letters and trying to humiliate the Nawab and its official. Now the company, they tried to humiliate the Nawab by writing so many letters, and in front of their other officials they try to humiliate the Nawab, so they get the more concession from the side of the company. But the conflicts was increasing day by day, which led to the very first battle between the company and the Bengal, the Battle of Plassey. When Alivardi Khan died in 1796, Shiraj-ud-Dowla became the Nawab of Bengal. The company was worried about his power and keen interest to become a puppet ruler who would willingly give trade concessions and other privileges. So it tried to control the Shiraj-ud-Dowla's rivals and the political affairs of the Dominion stopped fortification. After negotiations failed, the Nawab marched with 30,000 soldiers to the company factory at Qasim Bazar and captured the company officials, locked the warehouses, and blocked the English blockaded English ships. Then he marched to Calcutta to establish control of the company's fort there. Well, while hearing all such news, the company official in Madras sent their own forces under the command of Robert Clive. So, Robert Clive led the company's army against Sirajudollah at Plassey. One of the main reasons to defeat the Nawab was the forces led by the Mir Jafar, was one of the Sirajudollah commanders. Never fought the battle. So here I want to mention you that Mir Jafar was not a good person. He was against his own ruler Sirajudollah. So he met with the Robert Clive. He just settled the things. If he didn't fight with company officials, he will give them the Diwani of Bengal, means the control of Bengal, and they have in return of this, Mir Jafar have to give a big amount of money and a right of concessions of trading to the British East India Company. So at last, in this battle, the Sirajudollah was lost the war and Mir Jafar made the Nawab of the Bengal. The company was still unwilling to take over the responsibility of the administration. They don't want to tackle the things, they just want only money. So, two types of Nawab were made at that time. The real Nawab, or you can say the Nawab just to control, the Nawab was made to control for the administration purposes, but to control the money, they were in the hands of the company too. So this is all for the day. Rest of the things we will do in the next video.